there guys, Ken here, your Thrifty Apprentice, and welcome back to another Thrifty review. As I told you guys at the beginning of the last video, please bear with me and forgive me. I am still dealing with a sinus infection, so you may hear a little raspiness in my voice, but I'm going to do my best to go ahead and get through this. This is a long overdue review that I have been promising you guys for quite some time. So we are finally taking a look at KingArt 72 count of Pro Color Pencils. Now, KingArt is a division of the Low Cornell art company, which has been in existence since 1963. Then in 2018, they launched KingArt. So let's just jump right on in and take a look at what we have here. They come in this really nice, sturdy to-do tin. It's white, and their logoing is pretty standard across all of their products. Now, they do have 4 different divisions of products, if I'm not mistaken. They have their value level, which is like markers, pens, brushes, and accessories. They have the studio level, which is more like the drawing and sketching, painting and supplies. They have some markers and pens and brushes, papers, and some different easels for storage, different art sets and accessories under that particular line. Then there's the Pro line, which has drawing and sketching material, paints, markers and pens, and then, of course, art sets. And then the last line that they have is actually considered their premium line. And the only thing I've ever seen under the premium line are brushes. So of the 4 lines, this would be the second to the highest, but the highest line to contain paints and drawing and sketching materials. And it is supposedly geared towards and used to target professional artists. So they are kind of passing this off as professional grade. 72 unique colors, soft, velvety cores. They blend smoothly, sharpen easily, and of course they're artist quality according to the company. www.kingartco.com is where I went to source a lot of the information that I found on these. However, I did not find any Lightfast information, so I'm going to go ahead and over on the back. You will see that you have a color swatch of all the colors included. It says Pro KingArt Color Pencil Set 72. Create a wide range of painterly effects using KingArt color pencils, from broad strokes to delicate shading, from lush shadows to brilliant highlights. Our pencil's durable soft core lets you build up remarkable rich colors one layer at a time, yet holds a sharp tip for fine detail work. Use a light touch to incorporate the texture of your paper, or blend and varnish colors to a satin finish. Perfect for professionals, aspiring enthusiasts, and beginners looking to tap their inner creative and have fun. Our family has been exceeding the needs of the most demanding artists and enthusiasts for 3 generations. We delight in challenging the status quo and putting our experience to work for you. 2018 MCCC brands. Then it gives the address, all rights reserved. Designed in New York. Pencils were made in Taiwan. Other contents made in China. Set assembled in China. Conforms to the ASTM D4236. And then, of course, it gives the website again. Now, what that lets me know is that the pencils are designed for use in New York. They are outsourced to Taiwan for the actual product to be made. And that product is sent to China, where the packaging and the assembly of the packaging or of the sets are done, which is amazing because it's a lot of steps to go through. But there you have it. That's pretty much what the packaging looks like. Let's go ahead and crack this open so we can take a look at the pencils. So the inside is, let me see if I can zoom out a little here. So the inside is pretty straightforward. It comes with this little card on the inside telling you congratulations for your purchase and just giving you a little blase blah. It has this little covering on it, and then you get to 2 trays of pencils. Now let's talk about the tray itself. As I told you earlier, the tin It's pretty sturdy. However, the trays are pretty flimsy. I do find them a little hard to remove and lift out. And once you do, it's really flimsy. You need to be really careful. The one thing you never want to do with any pencil is really drop it. Although these are supposed to be break resistant. Still, you don't want to be dropping your pencils. And so you get 2 trays. They come in a pretty nice assortment of colors: yellows, reds, orange, blues, greens, violets, browns, and a few grays, black, and of course a white, which tell you right off, the white is nothing. It's just there. I didn't really use it for much. It doesn't hold enough opacity to really do any highlighting with. You can do maybe some secondary highlights with it, or you could use it for varnishing to help blend colors together. But outside of that, I didn't find much use for that particular pencil. So the pencils are pretty square on. I did notice that some of them are a little warped. They don't, they're not exactly straight, should I say. Let me show you one I'm talking about. Like, for instance, the Van Dyke Brown. It's not exactly a straight pencil. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it curves ever so slightly right there. So when you lay it down in the tray and you do the little roll test, you can feel it lift or kind of warp. It doesn't make a complete circle like the other pencils do, excuse me. And that's actually not the only one of the 72 set that was like that. So something to think about. This may just be this set. I don't know if all sets are like that, but there was some warping to some of the pencils. Other than that, there wasn't any physical damage that I was able to see. Grabbing one of the barrels to take a look at the pencil. Pretty much standard pencil. You got your black barrel with a color swatch on the end. It does say Color Pro. It'll give the color name, the stock number for the company. And then, of course, KingArt Pro is going to be on the color swatch. That is all the information listed on the barrel of the pencils. Again, there is no light fast information. None on the packaging, none on the barrel, none that I was able to find on the website. I will go ahead and ask if you guys know the light fast information for this particular set of pencils. If you've used them or had to research and source it, please help myself and anyone else who may be watching out by throwing that information in the comment section, or at least a source where we could go and find it for ourselves. Because I've been using the pencils for about 4 or 5 months and I have yet to find any light fast information on them. So the lid looks just like the color, but the swatch on the barrel is kind of a hit or miss depending on which pencil it is. I don't normally suggest swatching out color pencils because typically when you look at the lid, what you see is what you get with the color pencil. But with the budget pencils, I've been swatching those out simply because I've come to realize that the capping swatch, more times than none, is a little off. The barrels have silver writing, which makes it really easy for you to read the information that is printed on it against the black barrel background. The barrels are round, so they will roll. You need to be careful with it. As I told you guys earlier, one of the worst things you could do, or something that you don't want to do, is actually drop a pencil. The domes are capped, so you can't see whether or not the lid is sharpened initially, whether or not, the lids are centered initially. But if you look at the way a pencil is sharpened, or the way it sharpens, if you're able to get a fine tip with even shavings around the wood, then you know the lid is pretty centered. But if the wood is always off level after you sharpen your pencil, then odds are the lid in that pencil is not exactly centered. Not that that really affects the production, the production that you're able to come out with from using the pencils, but it is information for you to keep in mind, especially when you're talking about, you know, spending your hard-earned money on a product. Now, the pencils do sharpen to a fine point, and I did not experience much breaking when trying to sharpen them. And I did use a few different pencil sharpeners in order to do that. Now, I did tell you guys don't drop these pencils, but I'll be honest, I have dropped 1 or 2 of them, and the lid did not break, and I did not notice any breakage as I sharpened the pencil down. So they're bonded in there pretty well. So that's pretty much straightforward, the description of the barrels, what the physicality of the pencil itself look like. They do kind of put you in mind of a lot of other sets that you will see floating around Amazon right now. And I'm starting to, you know, really wonder if a lot of these pencils aren't just the same pencils being rebranded over and over and over. Now, this particular set, maybe not, because I noticed that it does tell you that basically they're designed in America, they're produced in Taiwan, and then they're put together in China. So maybe not this particular set, but I'm pretty sure there are some pencils out there that are going to be really similar to it. Some of them I've actually used, and we're going to get to that shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and place this back into the tray, and we're going to take a look at the color swatches for the pencils, because that's pretty much the physicalities of both the casing and the actual physical pencil itself. Personally, I think there's some pretty nice looking pencils, and they're really comfortable to hold. And as I think I told you guys that you know, the symmetry is not the best, but, you know, not the worst either. All right, I'm gonna close that up. And let's grab the swatch sheet for these, move this to the side really quickly. So I swatched the pencils out, and I've swatched them out on, let's see here, some watercolor paper, because that's probably what I'll be using the pencils on the most, because I really use color pencils and mixed media work more than anything. And let me see, can you guys see that? That swatch, I don't think I need to take it out. Okay, cool. Well, I'll zoom in a little bit. There we go. So you guys can see that. So here are the color swatches. For all intents and purposes, there are some really nice, vibrant, and beautiful colors in this particular set. The pencils do have a little bit of a dusty feel when you color them down. They're not like chalky or anything, but you know, it's a soft lid, so they do leave a little dust behind, especially on watercolor paper where you have the sides and then it's really grabbing the pencils. They do have a bit of a scratchy sound when you're using them against a surface that has texture. So that's something you may want to keep in mind, because I know a lot of people don't really like pencils that have a lot of sound to them. The pencils have a soft lay down with a pretty soft lid. And I noticed that on both the watercolor paper, and I'm going to actually show you guys some examples of me using the pencils on other types of paper. And the pigment payoff from the lid being so soft was really, really cool. As far as the softness of them are concerned, they really put me in the mind of pigment, Prismacolor, excuse me. The only difference is the lid didn't break every 2 or 3 strokes. So I did think that was a good thing straight off the bat. Let's see. So what I did notice as I was swatching them out is that the formula for the pencils seemed to be a little inconsistent. So like some of them are really super, super soft, and some of them are semi-soft, and some of them leans more so towards a harder lid, although they are all advertised as being soft and velvety. In my experience, I did not really see that they were all exactly that way. Now, the pencils both blend and layer pretty smoothly, and that does have to do with the fact that, you know, for all intents and purposes, most of the lids are really soft. So I used a stamp that I had in one of my stamp sets and inked it up and just kind of stamped down a set of roses here. I drew a circle and I drew a rectangle, mainly because I wanted to do some shading in the shapes to see what I could get. And the colors did shade and blend together really well. Now, there's not such a huge jump in spectrum with the colors that you can't find colors that are close together that you'll be able to blend. It's a pretty comprehensive set. 72 colors, and you get a nice assortment of yellows. You get a nice assortment of reds, some really nice violets. Now, what I noticed more than anything is that of 72 colors, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 of those colors are green. So you definitely get all the greens you will ever need in this particular set. I personally, hands down, see it as more of a landscape set. I mean, you do have reds and yellows in here, but you know, you have more cool, more greens, more browns and earth tones than anything. But I was still able to achieve some nice coloration on the roses and the leaves that I did here. So that's not to say that it can't be used for, you know, other types of artwork. Just I found that they worked really well with either being an enhancement for a mixed media project or being used in like landscape work, which is not, again, not a bad thing at all. The pencils are non-toxic, and there are a few skin tones in the set, not many. I mean, if you need to do some basic skin tone work, you probably could, but nothing too strenuous. I personally just can't get over the 16 greens. I mean, seriously, 16 or 72. Do you guys realize that it's 22%? 22% of the set is green. Like, I could just imagine what a bigger set would include as far as the greens go. That's pretty crazy. Here, I did a opacity test. As you can see, the pencils are pretty transparent in color. Again, you can get some really nice color load payoff, especially on watercolor paper. All these tests are done on watercolor paper simply because I just feel like this is where the pencils perform the best at. So as you can see, the colors are really bright. You get a little bit of haziness depending on the color, but for the most part, they were all really, really transparent. And I was sure to try to test a couple colors from each of the different color families, including the browns. And as you can see, the black will get pretty opaque and it's really heavy consistency and form. So that was pretty good. The pencils do smudge, especially once you have them in a heavier consistency, they will smudge, but they also do erase. Now, they're going to stain a little bit. I did some heavy coloring here before I tried to erase it just to see how much I would be able to erase it versus how much was left on the paper. So they do stain a little bit, but I think that if you were like using them for your preliminary drawing or when you're doing your preliminary drawing, as long as you're using a light touch, you should be able to erase it with no problems. But don't rub your hand across it because you could potentially smudge it. And then the pencils do actually move and dissolve depending. Now they are a bit water soluble, not a lot. As you can see, you do get a little ghosting though. Actually you kind of get a lot of ghosting. And that was just using a drop of water with a water brush to try to drag the pigment out. So you may be able to do a little bit of light blending of those pencils with water. But they really, really, really blended well with Gamsol. So like Gamsol or maybe baby oil would probably give you a much smoother blend and lay down than the water would. And of course, that'll be a great way to pull the tooth back so that you can add more layers to the pencil if you were working on a composition that required you to do a couple of different layers. So yeah, there you have it. The opacity is pretty transparent. They will smudge, they will erase, and they are both water soluble and movable with spirits, Gamsol, or you know, like baby oil. Let's take a look at some of the artwork that I have done with them, just so we can really get a feel for what. So I did some shading here, some shading balls or some shading circles. And I used a couple of different colors in order to try to pull off the shading effect in the 3D effect. So for the first ball here, I used light orange, orange, yellow, orange, and dark orange the combination of black and the shadows. The second bar was May Green, Apple Green, Green, and Black. And then Violet, Imperial Purple, Purple, Dark Purple, and Black. And I did 3 different ones because I kind of wanted to test the colors out across the range as to how they're blended, more so than just trying to blend one color. Because, you know, as I told you earlier, I feel like the formulation for some of these pencils may be different. So the orange and yellow shades may actually blend a little bit differently from the green shades, which blend a little bit differently from the violet purple shades, which is why I kind of wanted to pull from across the spectrum of colors in order to do some blending testing. Now, I will say they blend pretty well. It did get to the point where, you know, my paper was starting to lose too, and that's probably more so the paper than the pencils. But it took several different layers as long as I was keeping my pressure right before I got to the point where I just felt like I couldn't add any more of a particular color. So not too bad. Definitely not the best blending pencils I've ever used, but I will say not too bad at all. Let's take a look at a completed artwork that was done. So if you guys remember, not too long ago, I put up a video on the channel that was of some orange slices where I was testing Arteza watercolor. And in that particular composition, I used the KingArt Pro pencils as a 3rd layer accent for mixed media work. And it was because of the color pencils I feel that I got the pop that I did. Now, don't get me wrong, those paints are really vibrant in my opinion. But the color pencils really added the depth and the punch. The depth and the value for the color shades that I really needed in order to get that saturation. Really, really, really beautiful. I actually like the orange, the yellows and the oranges in that set. Soft, and because they're soft, it made it really easy for them to lay down on top of media that was already there. It wasn't like I was fighting to try to find tooth to get the pencils on. Now, the white part of this was done with the Durant Color Soft white pencil, because as I told you, the white pencil in the KingArt Pro pencil set it's not it. It's just not it. You know, let's just be real. You know, it's not the one you take to the prom. Yeah, you definitely want to pick up a Prismacolor or a Color Soft white color pencil if you're going to the prom. Leave all the other pencils on the shelf. But it worked really well in a mixed media form, and I was happy with the enhancement that the pencils were able to add to this picture. Now, keep in mind, this is 140-pound cold press, 140-pound cold press watercolor paper, I do believe, because this is a Grumbacher. Yes, this is the Grumbacher Academy's paper. Now, I did the swatches on 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. This is Canson. So pretty comparable papers that the pencils both perform on, with those being student grade. The shading balls that I did, of course, excuse me guys, just bear with me, I'm trying to get this sinus thing together. The shading balls that I did was on Canson Universal Sketch paper. This is a 65-pound paper, so it's really thin, sort of eggshellish, not exactly white, and they did well there. I do feel that they did a better job on the watercolor paper than they did on the sketch paper. But that was just from my experience. And lastly, I want to, I just noticed that glare. I hope that glare hadn't been there. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure how long that glare has been there. Hopefully it hadn't been too bad for you guys. I am still trying to figure out lighting, how to get it to work, where to get it to, how to get it to be positioned right so that it's not blinding you guys, but it's offering enough light for me to shoot the videos. So thank you for bearing with me on the lighting situation, and I hope that you continue to until I get it figured out. So lastly, I wanted to show you guys a poinsettia that I did back during Christmas. Now, this particular demo is also up on the channel if you guys want to go back and check it out. But this was another mixed media painting that I used the colored pencils in as the final layer to add details. Now, let me tell you, for detailing, for them to be a soft pencil, they actually work really well. Now, they're soft, but when you sharpen them, they sharp to a fine enough point for you to do detail work. And I thought that was pretty impressive for a soft pencil. Now, these pencils are oil-based. This is an oil-based pencil. So they are transparent. They're not necessarily opaque. And because they oil-based with more oil in the formula, you don't necessarily get the waxy payoff from the pencil that you do with like a wax color pencil. So again, was able to get a lot of detail in on top of my flower with those pencils. I was really happy with the way they performed, and this was mixed media paper. This is Arteza's mixed media sketchbook. So mixed media paper, watercolor paper, sketchbook paper. It did pretty well across the spectrum on all, but maybe just not as well on the sketchbook paper as it did on the watercolor and the mixed media paper. And I do believe, again, that's because those two type of papers have a lot more sizing in them, and they grab the pigment of that pencil a lot more than just say a flat, smooth surface paper would. Okay, so while I'm talking about all that and I'm showing you guys all that, as I was thinking to myself, I was like, I used these pencils for a couple of months, and I'm saying these pencils kind of put me in the mind of some other pencils that I have. So I went to digging and I went to looking, and I decided that when it was all said and done, I was going to put the swatches right next to each other as to who the pencils reminded me of. And you guessed it, they kind of put me in the mind of the Arteza Expert Colored Pencils. Kind of. There's a few differences now, don't get me wrong. But, guys, give me just a second. I'm going to see what I can, let me see. Let's pull this. I'm going to pull these out and put them side by side. I'm trying to kill that blaring light in. I don't want you guys to have to deal with it. Okay, so here are the swatch sheets for the Arteza side by side. Now, I did not swatch the KingArt out on colored cardstock like I did with the Arteza. Honestly, I just didn't feel like it. And I didn't feel like it was necessary for me to have two different swatch sheets in order to do the review. Now, of course, moving forward, I am gonna start swatching all color pencils on black paper as well, just because I want to test the opacity of them, see how they show up against a black background. But for all intents and purposes, I was really amazed at how close and similar a lot of these colors were. Now the Artezas have different names for the most part, but the coloration is really kind of uncanny. May green, lime green, this dark olive green is matcha moss green. The dark olive green reminds me of the moss green. Let's see, brick red and the burnt sienna look sort of the same. The brown from this set and the caramel brown from this set. So, and I'm not even saying that the pencils are the same. I'm just saying that the coloration, the softness of the lid, the way they feel in the hand, they all seem as if though maybe they could be produced in the same factory. But then I said, okay, well, let me grab the Arteza pencils and actually take a look at them. Now, if you grab the Arteza and you take a look at it, let's open this up here. This is actually a completely different barrel. It's a different looking pencil. It's even definitely a much thicker pencil. So after doing the physical comparison, I was like, okay, so maybe these aren't the same pencils. Just in use, they remind me a lot of them. And I think both the Arteza or the King Pro are kind of geared to be substitutes for Prismacolor because they have these really soft lids. They give off a lot of pigment and color payoff. The difference being that neither the KingArt nor the Arteza break as much in usage as a Prismacolor does for me. And they are, you know, half the price budgetedly. So that's great. What else did I want to say, or did I want to show you guys about these pencils? I pretty much think that's it. I didn't have a lot kind of pre-written out for this. I covered pretty much all of the points that I knew I wanted to cover about these pencils. So when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it all, you can source the pencils on Amazon for $39.98 for the set. If you go to the KingArt website, however, the pencils are $69.99 for the 72 set, which kind of blew my mind. And then I also found them through a Google search on eBay for $40.95. I did not find them at Walmart or Target. I was only able to find the watercolor pencil counterpart for the color pencils. So, looks like the best value is $39.98 at Amazon, or on Amazon, for the 72 pencils. But I'll be really honest with you. After using them for a couple of months, playing with them, being able to use them standalone as well as in mixed media, I'm not sure if I'll pay $40 for them. I'd probably throw them in my cart on Amazon and then wait on a coupon to hit, or wait on the price to adjust itself down, or maybe wait on a day when they're going to be having a sale when you can get these, because I mean, $40 for a 72 set of budget pencils with no light fast information from a predominantly new company, when there are other sets out there that I've used that are comparable to them and that have performed just as well. I'm not sure if I would want to pay $40 for them. Now, I did go and watch a couple of reviews after I finished doing all my research and I had gotten all my thoughts together for this particular review. I went on YouTube to see what some other artists had to say about these pencils. Now, first of all, let me say I'm not a standalone color pencil artist, so my view on the pencils is going to be a little bit different from someone who solely uses colored pencils in order. That's it, just colored pencils. I use all different types of media, and most of the time colored pencils are added as accent to other things. But I do like to do standalone paintings with them, and that way I can make sure that I'm testing it from all angles before I offer a review. I don't believe that swatching pencils is enough to be able to really tell you about the quality and how they work. I think you need to have a couple of paintings of some form under your belt. That's not to knock the way anyone else does it. That's just how I like to do it. With all of this said, I think the pencils are okay. I think that, you know, if you have them, you have them. I wouldn't necessarily just run out and buy them like, oh my God, I just have to have those pencils, especially if you already have Prismacolor or if you already have another soft-leaded pencil. I know some other brands out there that are pretty good and pretty comparable. Like, for instance, the Faber-Castell Gold Faber. I think those are some great pencils. You can get a 48 range of those, and it'll be a pretty comprehensive set of pencils covering all the range. It'll be semi-soft, but you're going to get a better quality, better pigment payoff, better lay down. And they are the student brand to a major professional label, so you're going to be expecting better quality out of those. There is the Marco Ruffini color pencils. Again, great price. I think have a much better color payoff than these do. The lid on those, if I'm mistaken, are not as soft, but you still get to do some great work, especially when you're talking about detailed work. I definitely think they are better than like the Artist Loft color pencils or any of the other, you know, common budget brands you may be used to having your hands on. let's just kind of skim really quickly through here and see. Like I've done the Faber-Castell. Like I said, if I had to choose though, I would definitely choose the Faber-Castell Gold Faber over the KingArt Pro. The Arteza, which I feel like they're pretty comparable to each other. Just because I feel like you can get a larger set for around the same price with the King Pro. The difference being that Arteza offers you light fast information, and it is a professional pencil. They're expert pencil versus KingArt Pro, which I feel, you know, I have question marks about whether it's actually professional, mainly because I don't have any light fast information and I'm not willing to just take their word for it. So guys, there you have it. That's pretty much all the information I have and everything that I wanted to share. I would recommend the pencils, I guess, for a beginner. Like I said, if you can find them on sale, that's great. If you can put them in your Amazon cart and wait on a coupon to come around, that's great. I wouldn't pay $40 for the 72 set. I didn't pay $40 for the 72 set. Back when I bought it, I got it at a lower price. I may have bought it on a sale day or something, but it definitely wasn't $40. And if I had to buy it for $40, it would still be in my cart, especially after knowing how they perform and work in comparison to some of the other pencils that I already have. So hopefully that was some information that was useful and helpful to you to help you make a decision about whether or not you want to add these to your art collection. Keep in mind that these opinions are all mine. I'm not paid or sponsored. And all these opinions are solely based on my experience and my use in the realm of my art, which may be different from what you do. So yeah, don't forget to like the video. If you found anything useful, please subscribe and tell other people that you know to come on over and subscribe so that we can continue to grow here. We're almost pushing 700 subscribers and I'm trying my best to get to 1,000. So thank you guys so much for your love and your support. Don't forget to share the video because sharing is caring, and that's exactly how I can get those other subscribers. Head on over to the Thrifty Apprentice Facebook page and Instagram. Like and follow us there. We would love to keep up with what you have going on in your world. You can use the Facebook page to share any of the tutorials or the demos that you followed or any artwork that you've done that you would like to upload and share with the Thrifty Apprentice community. Please go right ahead. Use the comment section. Let me know if you have these pencils. Have you used them? What do you think about them? What do you compare them to? Do you feel like they remind you of another pencil that's already out there? Or if not, was it enough information for you to decide whether or not you want them? And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep painting.